Welcome back. Today we are joined via Zoom by Dr. Sufna John, a child psychologist at UAMS, talking about how we can talk to our kids about the recent events coming from Texas and how to reinforce a sense of safety in our own lives. It has been a really tough day for parents, for kids, just seeing the absolute heartache and heartbreaking, terrifying events happening in Texas. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You know, for so many parents, it was hard at drop-off this morning, I think, to drop off kids, seeing what happened and seeing the heartache that these parents in Texas went through. How do parents handle these emotions?
Yeah, you know, as a parent myself, in addition to a clinical psychologist, I can really feel that impact and understand how, you know, it's hard enough to cope with emotions in our everyday life and stresses, let alone when something so devastating happens. Most of the parents I know in my life and in my practice really struggled this morning and have continued to struggle throughout the day with managing their emotions. And, you know, I think it's all of our worst nightmare when something like this happens to children. And so, you know, I think as parents, sometimes we get the message that we're supposed to put our own needs on hold for our children. But unfortunately, events like this sometimes surpass our ability to kind of keep it all in check. And so what I really encourage parents is instead to think about kind of that airplane oxygen mask metaphor, that before you can tend to the oxygen mask of those around you, you have to put it on yourself. And so instead of parents maybe natural instinct to push their own needs to the back burner, this is an especially important time for parents to take time to address their own needs and explore whether they need any sort of mental health resources in addition to the typical coping they might need day to day.
Absolutely. A wonderful advice. My goodness, I love that with the airplane. That's a wonderful, wonderful way to put it. How do we even begin to explain to our kids what happened? Do we explain? I mean, my kids are younger. And so at what age do you explain what's happening? And when they're older, how do you tell them the horrific things that are happening?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. And the first question is, yeah, we absolutely do want to talk to them. So despite our best effort to try to protect our kids from these horrific things, they can find out about this from all sorts of different avenues, from things like TikTok and Facebook, to adults around them having conversations, to conversations that are happening in peer groups. And so I often encourage parents to proactively bring up these things with your children, because then you can talk about your own family's values, what your family thinks about what's happening. And so we usually suggest, you know, picking a time when you have the time to devote to a conversation like this. So when you're on a rush out the door or right before bedtime may not be the best times to have a conversation like this. So you'd want to pick a good time and then start the conversation proactively with your child. Something like, you know, something scary happened at a school in Texas yesterday, and you might have heard about what happened. Do you know what went on? Because we might want to first get a sense from our kids of what do they know already. This gives us the opportunity to correct any misinformation that they have and to build upon what they already know. We tell parents to use simple language whenever possible, but that's especially true for young children. So for little kids, it might sound like somebody hurt somebody with a gun, and some kids and some grown-ups died. For older kids, it might sound like there was an incident of a school shooting that happened in Texas where multiple people died. And so you might be able to convey similar information, but in really different language, depending on the development of your child. You'd want to know what they know and how they feel. You'd also want to share, what do you know and how do you feel? So when parents talk about their own feelings, it can give kids permission to talk about their feelings, that feelings are something we talk about as a family. A lot of times in moments like this, it can feel like nothing is safe anymore and everything is dangerous. And so within conversations, we really recommend parents to also emphasize what is happening now to keep their kids safe. So things like, mommy and daddy are really careful about who they bring in front of you because we want to keep you safe. Your school does drills to figure out how can kids and adults try to keep safe if something dangerous was to happen in school. So really reminding them of safety parameters that are in place, and that even though we're hearing about these devastating impacts now, that it's not that common for these things to occur. And then lastly, just remind kids that you're open and receptive to talking about this again without forcing it. So sometimes as parents, we really want to help our kids, so we keep bringing something up and keep doing some digging. What we know about conversations like this is open it up, tell kids we can talk about it again, and then you don't need to keep bringing it up over and over again. We can trust our children to kind of let us know if they need to talk about it further.
Dr. Sufna John, thank you so much. A wonderful advice. We appreciate you so much joining us live from UAMS. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Of course, if you or anyone you know is at a point of crisis, you feel you need to reach out, there is help for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just contact the National Helpline at the number you see on your screen right now. And of course, as more news from the situation in Texas unfolds, you can get the latest updates anytime on your phone. Go to KARK.com to get the very latest.